Nano Banana might be cooked because Higgsfield AI just dropped Popcorn and they're coming for Google's crown. Imagine uploading a single image, writing a short prompt, and watching as an entire cinematic story is generated before your eyes. Popcorn uses a multi-image pipeline to solve the biggest problem in AI storytelling: continuity. No more random faces or mismatched scenes, just flawless movie quality visuals that actually feel consistent. I'm Jack, I've been a VFX artist in the advertising industry for over a decade now, and I've worked with many of the biggest brands on the planet. In this video, I'll walk you through exactly how Higgsfield Popcorn works, and we'll find out if this is the AI tool that's been missing from your workflow all this time. And guys, if you do enjoy today's content, make sure to whack a like on there for me, consider subscribing, and of course ring that bell notification icon. All right, let's get straight into it. So here we are over on the homepage of Higgsfield AI. If you guys are interested in checking out the platform, be sure to click the link down below in the description. And you can see they have their banner for Higgsfield Popcorn. If we click here, we can enter into the tool. Now, we did touch on this in the intro, but for the longest time, one of the biggest problems when it comes to using AI tools for filmmaking and advertising is achieving a level of consistency. And we're not just talking about keeping characters consistent, we're talking about things like location, time of day, lighting, and even the overall style of what it is you're trying to create. If any of these elements are a little bit off, it really does break the illusion. Of course, Google came out with Nano Banana, and this really did change the game. And really what we're checking out today is Higgsfield's take on this same idea. They are completely taking aim at Google with this one, and fair play to them. So how exactly does this work? Well, if you look at the bottom of the screen here, you can see we have the option to upload up to 4 images to guide or extend our storyboard. And at the bottom, an area to enter our text prompt, which says describe the mood or action to create your scenes. At the bottom here, we can also dictate how many images we want to be generated, and we can even select the aspect ratio of our output. And you can also see that there's an option at the very top here for auto and manual. The difference with manual is that we can enter a specific text prompt for each individual generation. So I think for starters, let's just try out auto, a very simple process, and we'll get a little bit more complicated as we go along. So for our first test, I think I'd like to enter in this image that I created of me as a Studio Ghibli character. So we'll just go ahead and drag and drop this into the field. Of course, we have the option to upload more images if we want to have more references, but I'm just going to go with this one for starters. And in terms of the text prompt, I just want to go for something really simple. We're just going to say, show the bearded character in a variety of visually striking scenes, dynamic and cinematic. And let's just go all the way up to 7 results. Let's make sure that we're on a 16:9 aspect ratio and go ahead and generate for free. You can see that we have a certain amount of daily credits for free use. Okay, so we have back our 8 generations here from Higgsfield Popcorn. 2 of them have been blocked due to showing sensitive content. Obviously, we didn't ask for any sensitive content in the text prompt, but you guys know AI sometimes has some issues like this. Not a big deal because we've got 5 really nice generations back. Starting off with this one, you can see that the art style feels very consistent. If we kind of flick back to our original reference image, if I'm being hypercritical, I would say that the type of glasses has changed a little bit. Really, everything else is looking pretty solid. This image here, again, is really, really nice. And I love this here of me in the water. It's cool that Higgsfield seems to have some kind of understanding of the subject matter within our image reference. Like these images that we've got back, they really do feel like they'd be right at home in a Studio Ghibli movie. And in this image here, we have me walking off towards the bathhouse from Spirited Away, which of course was the original inspiration for this image here that I put myself in. Now, if we're happy with any of the images that we got back from Higgsfield Popcorn, we can go to these 3 dots at the top right hand corner and we can click animate. And you'll see now that we've switched over to the video generation area and our reference image has been populated within this field. I'm just going to enter in a pretty basic text prompt. I'm going to say slow dolly camera move in the man's size as it rains, busy Tokyo street. And we'll just add on the end here Studio Ghibli style animation. In this next field, we can go ahead and pick our video model, and you can see there's a lot we can pick from here on Higgsfield. I think we'll go ahead and use Google Veo 3.1. Using the fast model specifically, we're going to put our quality at 1080p and our aspect ratio at 16:9 and go ahead and hit generate. All right, we've got our Veo 3.1 generation back. Let's go ahead and watch this. That is absolutely perfect. The animation style is bang on, and I love the little piece of music at the end. It would really fit within a Studio Ghibli movie. And hopefully you guys can start to see how this would function within a workflow. We would use Higgsfield Popcorn to create multiple different scenes. Of course, keeping our character and location, things like that, consistent, and then we can go ahead and animate each of those individual scenes. Stick them all together and you easily have a short film or an advert. We'll go ahead and go for something a little bit more realistic now. We have this image of me in a Nike windbreaker stood in front of this water fountain, very kind of urban feel here. So we'll go ahead and drag and drop this in. Let's push the model a little bit further, this time with the text prompt, show the bearded man carrying out a bank robbery. Again, it's a very basic prompt, so we're giving quite a lot of room for Higgsfield Popcorn to kind of flex its own creative muscle here. Let's go ahead and hit generate. Is the model going to be able to keep me looking nice and consistent? We saw that when it came to the Studio Ghibli style, it did a pretty good job. Obviously, this is going to be completely different. This style is a lot less forgiving, so we're going to have to go ahead and see how the image model gets on. Okay, so we have our bank robbery generations back, and I have to say they're looking pretty good. Starting with this shot here, yeah, looking pretty nice. Bit forgiving with all of the motion blur and such, some issues with the writing on the door, I would say. But I wouldn't question too much that this does look like me. Low angle shot here, again, this looks like me, I think. Pretty happy with the character consistency we've got going on, and of course the costume that I'm wearing looks nice and consistent as well. Me going into this vault here, again, it's kind of forgiving from this camera angle, but it isn't breaking the illusion, which is what we're really worried about, of course, when it comes to consistency. Nice shot here. Yeah, like that one a lot, actually. And this shot here, really nice too. One of the things I will say is that it seems to have managed to always have me with my wedding ring on, which is pretty cool. You can see it's appearing in every one of our image generations. For this shot here, my face has gone a little bit wonky. I think everything else is looking and feeling pretty good. And then this last shot here, this kind of wide shot that's very cinematic and dramatic. Yeah, I like this. So hopefully you can see how this functions pretty effectively as a storyboarding tool, and we can go ahead and animate any images that we like the look of. But I think for our next example, we're going to go into a little bit more detail and have a bit more control of the images that we're going to ask Higgsfield Popcorn to generate for us. So we're going to use ChatGPT here to help us out a little bit. So I'm just going to enter in the text prompt. I'm working on a short film. I'd like you to write me short text prompts for each scene, which all show the bearded man taking part in some kind of crazy stunt. Make the stunts varied, realistic, but memorable. So let's see what ChatGPT gives us back. So you can see we've got a whole bunch of different scenes here: rooftop leap, motorcycle slide, train grab, burning bridge, car roll, loads of different options going on here. What we can do is copy one of our text prompts, head back over to Higgsfield Popcorn, and let's upload a different reference image this time. I want to go ahead and use this one here, which was actually generated using Nano Banana. So we'll drag and drop this into the field. I'm going to switch over to the manual option now. And this is obviously going to allow us to dictate each individual scene. So I'm going to copy and paste that first text prompt in here. And we'll just keep grabbing the prompts that we like the sound of, just to keep populating each of our individual scenes. Got to go for the airplane wing walk, why not? Got waterfall drop here, standing at the edge of a massive waterfall. He dives perfectly into the roaring water below, like the sound of that. Of course, we still want our images to be generated in 16:9. Let's go ahead and see what we get back. So we have our generations back once again. Just a reminder, this was our starting frame. And this is what we've got back from Higgsfield Popcorn. So the burning bridge is not making an awful lot of physical sense. I'm kind of running through the middle. I'm not really sure what's happening here. I like this shot here where I'm running alongside the train. This is looking pretty cool. Again, the outfit that I'm wearing is looking nice and consistent. And it's actually put a backpack on me. We didn't have that in the original reference image, but I suppose Higgsfield is thinking, well, he's carrying out some kind of stunt, so maybe he needs some like tactical gear or whatever. So this one here is where I'm riding on the wing of a plane. I'm not too sure why I've ended up with a ponytail, but the rest of the shot looks pretty good. Got here me diving off of the waterfall. This is looking cool. Quite nice cinematic style composition. Me running across the lake is also looking good. From behind, I'm still looking nice and consistent. Jumping between two roofs here again, like the kind of physical world building is a little bit off here. Doesn't make a lot of sense that I would be jumping, and kind of looks like I'm falling off of this roof here. But in terms of character consistency, I think we've achieved that once again. And this one here, me falling out of the window. I think I've got a ponytail again. I don't know why this image model really wants me to have a ponytail. I think next I'd like to go ahead and test out this for more of an advertising use case. So I'm going to get rid of that image reference there. And I want to put in a few different ones now. So let's use this one here, which has like a magazine editorial fashion vibe going on. Drag and drop this in here. And I also want to drag and drop in this image here of a Ralph Lauren male perfume bottle. So we'll drop that in. And in terms of the text prompt, we're going to go ahead and write in, show the bearded man in a variety of different environments, wearing different clothing, holding the Ralph Lauren perfume bottle. Visually striking editorial fashion vibe, TV perfume ad, cinematic. So let's generate this. Okay, so we've got a bunch of various different results here. I did a slightly varied text prompt at the top here, trying to make sure that I was always wearing my hat, because I felt that these generations here didn't look completely like me. But to be fair, the reference image, I'm wearing a hat, I'm wearing my glasses. So sometimes it's important to include that in the text prompt, which is why I wanted to run it twice. First with a very simple text prompt, and this one here with more description in terms of what I'm wearing. We've definitely got back some very visually engaging images here from Higgsfield Popcorn, and you can see that the product itself has stayed nice and consistent throughout. If we scroll up a little bit, you're about to see me with a terrible comb over. I don't know why Higgsfield's image model hates my hair. Earlier it tried to give me a ponytail. Now it's giving me this comb. I don't know what that is. Terrible comb over going on. But putting that to one side, this is a pretty impressive AI image, I've got to say. Really like this one here as well. See, sometimes the image model struggles a little bit with text by the look of it. You can see some strange kind of artifacting happening here, almost like hieroglyphics or something. But the pose that I'm striking, this does actually look like me, and it's probably because the guy is wearing a hat, right? If you're using an image reference where your character is wearing a hat, you really kind of need the images that have been generated to also have him wearing a hat, because straight away this looks a lot more like me than something like this where, you know, the hair. Once again though, if I didn't have that hairstyle, it would look a lot like me. This is another really great shot. This would look right at home in a perfume ad. Even this one here looks really great. Another cool one here, I really do like the variation in outfits as well as locations, and I really think this is the strong point when it comes to Higgsfield's own image models. They're definitely tailored more towards fashion or editorial vibes. And actually, I carried out some tests using that same image reference, just trying to see this very simple text prompt once again, show the bearded man in different environments. And you can see here, I've stayed fairly consistent throughout. This is looking pretty good. And this shot here particularly, I love how it's put the snow in my beard. This is actually really nice compositionally as well. That's a great generation. And then me in a city. It's trying to give me a little bit of a mullet. And up here, me holding this popcorn in different environments. This came out really great as well. Love the detail in the beard where I've kind of like not shaved for a little bit and there's a little bit of growth there below the neckline. And this like log cabin town behind me. This is a really nice one as well. Me on the beach, still holding the popcorn, looking a bit sad and on my own. And I think what we'll do for the final image, let's try out this kind of Pixar style vibe we have here. So I'll drag and drop that in. And then I was thinking, why not have the Pixar version of me holding this Starbucks coffee takeaway cup? And let's try something a little different here. Let's say show a fight scene between the bearded man and a giant robot. The bearded man is always holding his Starbucks coffee, trying not to spill it during the fight. All right, let's see what we get back for this one. I'll be interested to see if it manages to keep that Pixar art style consistent and apply that to our Starbucks coffee cup as well. All right, so we have back our generations of me trying to kind of avoid, to be honest, fighting this giant robot. And as you can see, the character of me has stayed nice and consistent throughout. And I am, of course, holding that Starbucks coffee cup. We had one generation here that failed due to sensitive content. Just a little bug this. I'm sure they will end up ironing that out. But you can see that the robot has stayed nice and consistent throughout all of these shots as well. I'm not too sure what's happening with this one, but I think generally speaking, we are nailing that nice level of character. And in this case, product consistency as well. And of course, we could have also gone down the manual route here and dictated each of the individual scenes that we were after. So I think from our tests, we've seen that Higgsfield Popcorn deals really well when it comes to animated or cartoon style content. And as I kind of predicted, fashion or editorial style content as well. This is where Higgsfield's image models really do shine, and you can see the proof here. Thank God in this one here, though, I'm wearing my beanie and covering up this awful comb over. I never want to see this again. This is going to give me nightmares. But I'm sure you guys can see a great deal of use cases when it comes down to this tool. I'd love to get your opinion on it as well. How do you think it compares to the competition in Nano Banana? If you have enjoyed today's content, guys, make sure to whack a like on there for me. Consider subscribing and, of course, ring that bell notification icon so you never miss any future uploads. Appreciate all the support on all of my recent videos, guys, and I will catch you on the next one.